Crypto. There are a lot of signs out here telling us to be cautious, and so that's what we need to do. Now, Bitcoin does need a pullback at some point. That's healthy for it. That would help us to get up to some higher points if we see that. If we don't and we keep plowing up, I mean, that's good for the short term, but we could have a bigger drawback. Just kind of things that we got to kind of weigh in here. But whether you're trading Bitcoin or you're trading altcoins, you need to be following Bitcoin. And not many people do. I can tell that by the views that I get on Bitcoin versus that I get on altcoins. But let me let you in on the secret. If you're following Bitcoin, you got an edge over those guys, meaning you're going to take their money before they take yours. And that's how this game is played. So clearly on the larger scale, we got a lot of different scenarios that could play out. We're in a good spot already. If we did come back down, the fact that we made a higher high from here is very good. We're just looking for a higher low, something higher than this area here. Now, this falling wedge that we broke out of here does have a 63% chance to come back to the breakout area as a retest. Doesn't mean it's going to, doesn't mean it has to, but it is a healthy sign to get some kind of pullback, and these patterns often play out that way. So these are just some things that we need to keep on our mind, but we got a bunch of bullish signs too. Looking here on the daily, we got the 50 EMA crossing the 100. That's official. Pullback probably wouldn't come back past this point, to be honest with you. A good area to look at, 19,172 if there is a pullback. But we hope to stay above this 200 EMA. That's really crucial. And it can get tricky because look back at 2019 December, we had this leg up kind of like what we're feeling right now, right? It was a rally that just kept going up. We broke above the 200, 50 EMA crossed the 200, 100 EMA crossed the 200. Looked great. We were going to the moon. And then what happened? Well, in this case, we had the market scare and then the big pandemic thing that created a black swan that drove us down to the bottom, right? Just because we get above the 200 EMA at this stage in the market doesn't mean that we're not going to come back and retest it, because price will always come back to that 200 on the daily at some point to retest it. It just will. And we have a chance to break down underneath it. Now, we had a black swan event here, and we have a currently questionable global economic condition that we're in now. So, there are some potential black swan events that would happen. So just some things to keep in mind. Even back here in 2019, we crossed above, had a good run, okay? That was very strong, and still crossed bullish in May, but then it fell hard in September, went down below the 200 EMA. Didn't even get stuck there. Didn't have a hiccup there. It just went down below it. A lot of people got scared in this area, but then it just popped right back above it. And we think you're all bullish again, right? Well, no, it's still playing around in these areas. So the fact that I'm trying to make is just because we are above the 200 EMA doesn't mean it's all unicorns and sunshine from here out. We do have a good chance to break down below this at some point, whether that will be soon or whether we may go up here to say this area of about 28,000 and do what we call a dead cat bounce, where we could come back down and retest these bottoms, or possibly even go lower. These things are still on the table because we are still in a bear market. We're not at the phase yet to where we're full-blown bull, but we're getting there. We're edging there. There are good signs. Adoption is occurring every day. And we're talking big players, governments, big business, all looking at this. It was a topic at Davos. Crypto is going to be going mainstream more than we have ever seen in this next cycle. When you mention Bitcoin, people aren't going to be asking you, what's that? Near as much as what they have in the past 5 to 7 years. And so now getting more into our current price situation, our eyes are on this target right over here, about 25,000, right? I have a target at 24,761. We also want to put this target on our radar right here, about 20,042. And we could look for price to come up there and get rejected, or we could look for it to come up to our measured move, which is about 26,221, make a higher high, and then come back down to maybe retest this area, 21,363 for a lower low, or even come down lower back to these other areas around 20,000 or 19,000. Those are all some potential ideas. What we need to do now is pay attention to its current price structure, and that will help us get an idea of what to expect. And currently is flirting with maybe breaking structure. However, what I'm seeing right here with this Ichimoku cloud, with it being thin, it's starting to thick up a little bit, right? That means that price is getting a little bit tired. But you see, it's way over here and not near our price structure over here. The distance between those two is actually a good sign. Now, we don't see that on the 4 hour. The 4 hour showing us something a little different, but the daily is looking good as far as that goes. So let's just go ahead and bring up our indicators on the daily, and then we'll tune into the 4 hour just to get a better sense of what we can expect, especially over this weekend. But the daily should take care of us pretty much for about a week's worth of time. Now, Stochastics are starting to come down, so we're getting tired, and it's good for it to come down because it needs to reset. Let me pull up the BMC market cipher. VWAP is down, but it's not headed straight down. It's rounded out. It's got a good chance to actually curve back up and go above this zero line right here. That would be very good. Biggest thing I want to draw your attention to is money flow is still in. On the daily, it's rounding out a little bit, but it's still coming in. There's no signs of it going down. Stochastics, however, are starting to reset. I want to keep an eye on that. Now, I would like to see them turn at some point, or maybe come all the way back down to the bottom and reset. Those are some things that we could look at as far as stochastics. Our biggest concern has been the RSI, because it's been showing some bearish divergence there, right? You see how this kind of leans to the downside from this peak down to this peak, even down to where we are now. It's going down. Price action for this area has been going up, and that's called bearish divergence, and that usually always spells out a trend change, meaning that this move is over and it's going down. However, there's another scenario that you can look at. If price is bullish enough and price decides to come up to these areas over here, we possibly could nullify that bearish divergence, and that would be huge. And what that means is that the RSI would also be coming up as price action comes up, and then that bearish divergence is gone, and there could be some really massive moves. So those are the things I'm looking at right now. So it really is at a pivotal point. We've got to watch price action to see what it's doing. The biggest clue that I can give you to look out for as a warning in case that happens, and probably best to come down on the 4 hour so you can actually see this a little bit better, and that is this white trend line right here, from this bottom to this bottom to this bottom, and this makes a rising channel. Now these are bearish by nature. Now they can go up quite a bit, but eventually they fall through and break out. The exception is if it breaks to the upside of this, finds support there, you can see some extremely massive gains. It will go parabolic. So those are the really bullish signs we want to keep our eye on as far as it comes to Bitcoin. And we're not there yet though, but we are very much have been flirting with the bottom of this trend line. And actually before, I had this trend line from the bottom of this leg to the top one, and it was making a rising wedge pattern, which is definitely a bearish pattern, 68% chance it breaks to the downside. So when we got in this area over here, I was watching very closely. Turns out we were actually in a range. And if I do my trend line right here, you can see that we're in a range. That could be a Wyckoff accumulation area right there. So it definitely is accumulation. So the biggest thing that we want to look at in the short term over this weekend, we want to see price break above this orange trend line, and this is about 23,100. See that hold, close a candle there, and then we can start moving up toward these higher targets around 24,000, even up to 24,700 and 600, maybe even on up to 25,000. But I do want to warn you that the Ichimoku is kind of thickening out a little bit, and notice how much closer it is to price structure here. That's an issue because should price break below that, you will see it gravitate toward the inside of this cloud, and that signal a retracement, and it may be what we're looking for to happen. If you see this trend line break, you probably want to take some profit in your altcoins and maybe in some Bitcoin and get prepared for a retracement to a lower area. If we don't break this trend line, don't worry about it, just keep riding it. Now our indicators on the 4 hour, not looking too terrible, but we see that money flow is starting to come down on the 4 hour. However, VWAP is still up and kind of edging up a little bit. Stochastics kind of came down, and then now they're going back to the upside, and they've got some room to run. Stochastics have kind of reset back through here on this particular time frame, caught a little hiccup here, but now we can still go up all the way up to 97, back up to these areas. So we've got some very potential upside over the weekend. The money flow wave, looks like it's in pretty good shape. It may not make it up very much higher before we get a red dot. The MACD is a little bit undecided, but it is kind of going to the upside. It's showing a little bit of indecision there, but showing a little bit of bullish activity. Now, with that cross is over this line here, that's very bullish. And once this histogram gets above the zero line and starts turning green, very bullish. Those are the things that we want to see happen over the next few days on the MACD. If we don't see that, then you should be a little bit more concerned. Cool thing about RSI is that now we've got a little bit of a reset here. All that trading sideways allowed us to reset a little bit. This is another sign that we could get another move up. RSI double bottom right here. Good sign. It's above this moving average line right here. Broke above that. We can even chart this, and if we see RSI come up above this and break out of this just like it would in price action, that's a good signal. That's very bullish, and that will give us a swing to the upside. And it looks like it's possible to happen over the weekend, so keep your eyes on those things. So my immediate targets are still the same. It's about 24,085, 24,761, and 25,042. What we need to do now to get a better feel for the market is look at a few other things like the dollar. And I know people get bored with this, but this is extremely, extremely important. Dollar is still in a falling channel here, a falling wedge, if you will. Ichimoku is still kind of thin, so anticipate, we will probably come back down just a little bit. It has been ranging up, and that's kind of affected us and made us trade sideways in Bitcoin over, say, the last 3 days. Now it got rejected at this line, and it looks like it will be heading back down to this lower area right here. Good for us, okay? It looks like the dollar will either kind of go sideways or kind of go down, and that is great for Bitcoin and altcoins, especially over the weekend. The last indicator we want to look at is Bitcoin dominance, okay? What we see happening here, and let me go to the daily. We broke to the upside of a bearish pattern, okay? Remember what I told you, when these things break to the upside, they usually go parabolic. Now, what does that mean for Bitcoin, and what does that mean for the altcoins? For Bitcoin, it means that money is focusing mostly on Bitcoin. You're seeing some people sell out of altcoins in the Bitcoin so that they can get Bitcoin heavy. Your altcoin prices are going to suffer as far as your Bitcoin value goes. You may see that on your exchange accounts. Like I know I'm on KuCoin, and where I am in some altcoins there, I've noticed that my Bitcoin value has dropped by about 10% just over this past week. It went up a lot here, looked good. It would have been a great time for me to take profits in those in BTC, but I didn't. But had I done that, I would have been in a much better place to be more Bitcoin heavy, and then whenever this tops out at some level and starts going the other way, I can spend my Bitcoin, buy the altcoins there, and as this comes back down, I can substantially grow my Bitcoin because Bitcoin dominance is coming up and altcoins are even staying the same or trading up, and that's usually what you'll see. Bitcoin will probably be trading sideways as well. Your altcoin to Bitcoin values will start skyrocketing there when Bitcoin dominance starts coming down. That's why this is a very key important metric if you're trading altcoins. So we could see a pullback to these levels, and that would be healthy for altcoins as far as the BTC pair goes. So basically, in a nutshell, when dominance is on a tear and going up, you truly are better off to be in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is outperforming your altcoins. Even though you're seeing dollar gains in altcoins, you would still actually technically be ahead of the game if you're more into Bitcoin. Just something to be aware of. It all depends on your strategy and what you're trying to do and what you have to work with. But we do see here on the daily that we got a red dot for Bitcoin dominance. It has broken market structure there. We can go into the 4 hour here just to kind of see that. Overall, we're looking for a little bit of a pullback in Bitcoin dominance, more than likely coming back down to about the 43% area to retest that. Although I don't really see that so much in the Ichimoku cloud. That's what I would be looking for first, and then it may be on a tear again. So it could be a time where you could take some profit into Bitcoin on your altcoins and then ride Bitcoin as it goes up. And of course, plan to later get back into your altcoins. The dollar price may seem high, but the Bitcoin price will be very low. And then you can work on doubling your Bitcoin. That's just kind of how that works. Hit that like button if this information has been helpful for you. My name is Lane, your crypto road dog, helping you navigate the crazy world we call crypto. Be blessed, and remember, you got this.